Welcome in to another edition of Nick Patrick's Mailbag right here on Podcast Heat Wrestling. We appreciate you joining us. I'll be your co-host, kind of steering us, barely keeping us between the lines, Cassio Kid, and I am joined by the man of the hour, the legend, the most hated ref in the world, the NWO Hill ref himself, Mr. Nick Patrick. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Life's been treating me well the last week or so. So I'm all happy with it. Yeah, I just yesterday went down and recorded a couple of episodes on Dark Side again. So I'll be coming up on that.
Oh, really?
Up. Yeah. I'll talk more about it as they, as down the road. But I did go do that yesterday, so that was cool. And now I'm out here talking to folks today.
Well, you're just talking to everybody. You're just filling everybody in on everything.
Man, I'm letting it rip, man.
Letting it rip. All right, we are rocking and rolling here. Let's remind you, the listener, the viewer, that you can interact with us in the comment section. We can see those. So put your questions, your comments, whatever you'd like into the chat there. Drop it in, and we will get to as many of those here on the mailbag as we can before we head out of here today. If you would like to support the show, make sure you follow everybody on social media. Make sure you turn on those notifications and subscribe here to Podcast Heat Wrestling so you'll never miss a show. Also, shout out to everybody watching over on our X feed as well. We're broadcasting live on the old Twitter as it is. And so you can check that out there as well. Also, you can support the show by hitting us up with a super chat. That's the quickest way to jump to the top of the list with those chats, and it supports the show greatly. So if you would, if you've got the little extra, go ahead and hit that. We'll make sure we get yours before we get out of here as well. All right, Nick, we've got a lot to get to. We have got a lot to get started. We got a bunch of people popping in. We greatly appreciate it here every single week on Podcast Heat Wrestling. Y'all joining us and sending us questions. How was your last Deep South event since we talked? Didn't you have one this past weekend?
Yeah, it went really well. Everybody was jacked, man, and it turned out to be tremendous. I didn't get to go once again, but my people handled it, and I got great reports.
Nice.
And every now and then I'll have somebody that will zip me in where I can check some of it out on the phone. But usually it's not. It's nothing ever backstage. It's like I'm watching different matches every now and then. I'll get a little feed from them once in a while, so that I can semi be there. But yeah, it went really well.
You've got some more stuff coming up. We'll get to that later in the show. So we will, Deep South always got stuff going on and coming up, and we'll get to those and talk about some of the people involved there at Deep South. If you would like to stay up to date with all they're doing, go to wearedeepsouth.com, and you can see, looks like you're doing a little website revamp there. So everybody can check that out, and starting to look good, starting to get that dialed in, and everybody can check that out and see what's going on with Deep South. Learn about all the stars. Learn about where you can follow them on social media. Watch it on YouTube. Everything is there at your fingertips at wearedeepsouth.com. All right, Nick, you ready to jump in this mailbag, attack some of these questions?
I'm ready.
All right. Adam Krasnov was the first to pop in today. So we'll start with him. He said, Nash defeating Goldberg at Starrcade 99 was met with lots of fan criticism. Looking back, who do you feel should have been the one to end Goldberg's undefeated streak?
Ooh. That's hard to say, actually. I don't see why Nash would have been a bad choice. Not everybody agrees that he was a bad choice, and I don't know who else they would have plugged that they would have had. If it would have been somebody, that would have been somebody they had to try and elevate, and it's hard to say. I can't throw a name out right now that I would have from that time period that I would have said, well, this guy should have been the guy. Over Nash. Nash was one of the guys. So.
Yeah, we're talking about, of course, Goldberg 173-0 in the WCW. Yeah. He lost to Nash at Starrcade 98, which was a big deal. I mean, somebody had to do it, and like you said, Nash is one of the guys. So I don't know if there's any. It's just a what if game, you know. It's just
Yeah.
it didn't happen. So
Different people, different bookers have different ideas, different philosophies. You know, if somebody else, you know, they could have went with somebody that could have been a surprise that they thought Goldberg was going to just run through and holy shit, and created a whole new character out of somebody instead of another NWO guy. I can see that, you know, but who would that have been? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, you know, yeah, I don't fault them for that. I think Nash was actually a good choice.
Y'all hit us up in that chat. Who would y'all have done? I mean, there's a couple different ways it could go. Of course, Hogan is in the company at that time. Of course, he was still the top heel. Uh, you know, if he ends it with some NWO interference, maybe it would have kept Goldberg chasing the belt. I know Sting's going to get brought up. DDP would have been brought up. I mean, Havoc 98.
Sting was a
Goldberg,
babyface, though.
yeah,
That made no, you know, that wouldn't have worked. They're both
yeah.
baby faces. So
DDP was a babyface. Of
yeah,
course,
him too.
they wrestled at Havoc in '98, and that was one of, if not Goldberg's best WCW match. They had a great one, but like you said, they're both kind of babyface here. They're both
Yeah,
not in the NWO, and you know the whole
yeah.
deal.
NWO was getting all the focus at that point in time too, so they were doing everything they can to get as much steam on NWO characters because that's who they were. That's who was pulling the load. So that's that's another reason why I'm sure that they did that with Kevin.
Would have been fun to see maybe Jericho. Maybe that was a little too, different time for him, but Jericho kind of could have been there, or Bret Hart was there. That could have been very interesting. But again, they don't have that
Yeah,
NWO clash.
yeah.
So, they did what they did, and it's going to be a now what if game. But y'all can comment and let us know what y'all think could have been in there. Could have been a lot of people, and who knows how it would have turned out.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got. Let's see. Tony Flowers. There we go. Tony Flowers says, "What's up, fellas? Nick, was there ever one specific city you got most excited about visiting when you'd see it on the road schedule for WWE WCW? If so, what was it about that city that made it stand out? Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you."
There was a lot of different cities that I liked going to. I liked. Oh man, it's hard to say. Where because we traveled the world, man. I used to like to go to Tokyo. Was awesome.
Tokyo, okay.
If you've never been to Tokyo, that's something you got to experience. Tokyo was really a lot of fun. It was cool and a cultural experience. And Tokyo is pretty bad. It's a long ass trip, man, but it's worth it. It's worth it. It's really cool.
You bring up the Egg Dome a lot. That was a good one.
Yeah, and the food, and when us American kids, folks, I say kids, all of us American folks think of Japanese food as like going to the Japanese steakhouse, and when you get over there, the original stuff is way different, man. I mean they have the Japanese style, but they got like more Korean barbecue, and they got sushi bars and stuff, but. Like we showed up to, I think it was at the Keough Plaza we stayed one time, and it had a Denny's right next to it, and it was regular American Denny's menu all through breakfast, but then at lunchtime it went to Japanese menu, and it wasn't anything.
It was local Japanese cuisine.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and so I went in there and I wanted to order breakfast. But I was right on that borderline of time, and I missed it, right? And because this is a different culture, right? So the waitress had brought me a couple of drinks, but then she was explaining to me that that it switched, and all I could get was this other stuff. And so I said, "Oh no, thank you." And so I left her a tip because she brought me a couple of drinks, and I went out the door, and I went all the way down, and had to go down a flight, and then boom, and some steps out in the street to wait to catch a cab to go back to my hotel, right? Well, actually, the hotel was right there. I didn't have to. I was just stopping at the light because I had to go across the street, rather.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, this little Japanese waitress comes running up, and she's tugging my arm and giving me the money back, and wouldn't take any money that I left because they didn't have what I wanted, and it was she insisted on me taking it back. So,
Wow.
yeah. So I thought, okay, I tried.
Yeah. So their culture didn't want you tipping, since you didn't get to eat.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think's one of the wildest things you ever tried
Wildest things I ever tried
to eat? Yeah.
Oh, I'm not one of those experimental guys, man. I'm very picky. So there's a lot of veggies I won't touch and eat. I'm just, I'm like, my son Nick is autistic, and he is like, he eats the same thing every day. But I'm not that picky. But man, I'm picky, and I'm not going to go experiment on a whole bunch of stuff. No, that's not my deal, man. I'll go hungry. I'll go find a McDonald's somewhere because they're worldwide. I'll get a burger royale somewhere.
Worldwide. The burger royale. You're not getting any kind of live squid or any kind of brains or
no monkey brains. No, none. Hell no.
Nothing wild.
Not me, man.
I have a great story. When I lived in Los Angeles, one of my best friends, he had this book that this food critic had wrote,
Mm-hmm.
and it was about places you need to eat in LA that are authentic, and some of them were little holes in the wall and so, a little off the beaten path. And then he would tell you what he ate there, so if you wanted to try to eat it. And so we went to a barbecue place. It was great. Went to like an Italian and like a Jamaican where they had the jerk chicken, and so we went to this Asian restaurant, and I think it was Chinese food. I'm not sure, Chinese or Japanese. I apologize, but it was definitely Asian food. And the book told him to get the blackened duck soup, and he didn't. He tried to order it, and our waitress, she was Asian as well, and she said, "No, you can't have it." And he was like, "Yeah, it's in this book. I know,
Right.
I'm trying to try local, your cuisine." And they were like, "No, you don't want it. You just don't want it."
Yeah.
And she had to call a manager over finally.
Yeah.
Talked him into letting it have it. And they were like, "You're still going to pay for it if you don't like it." They were like, "You're not going to like it." And he was like, "I don't care." So they brought it out, little cup of soup, blackened duck soup, and it looked like bong water. It was just black with that film on top.
Right.
He puts his spoon in, pulls it back out, and it is a full charred baby duck.
Oh.
The whole thing.
Oh.
And of course we were like, "Oh my gosh." And now he's made a big deal. He had to take a bite after that.
Yeah.
He's got the manager, and they're all standing there looking at him.
They tried to tell him. They tried.
Yeah, he's like crunching it. He's like,
I'd have just paid. I'd have went without the crunch, man. If I'd have gone that route, I'd have paid, but there'd have been no crunch for me, man.
He did. We're like, "Dude, you've did all this. You have got to try it now. It's on you. You've got to."
They didn't say it was blackened because it had been dead for 2 weeks.
No, it was crusty. It was an ashtray, is what it was. Oh, it was hilarious, and I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't. Because some of the places I'd try what he tried, but I was like,
and that's why Nick does not experiment. Right there.
And that's why when the staff tells you not to get the food, don't get the
Trust
food.
them.
They're there.
They've seen what there's been. They've seen what's happened to it in the back. They might have been one of them doing it.
Yeah, they have seen this before and know how it's going to end.
Yeah,
their job is to sell you food. So if they're telling you not to get it,
and don't cuss anybody out at the drive-through either. That's another stupid move.
Oh no, yeah, you're getting some stuff in your food. Yeah. Let's see. Nick, did you ever run into any problems in working with state athletic commission appointed referees? Can you recall situations where they didn't really know what they were doing?
Several times, but we would always just keep them in something that was very simple. We'd let them do. They were required to be able to do 1, maybe 2 matches. I think was the deal that they had to be able to do. and we'd keep them in the most simple. We wouldn't ever put them in anything complicated. We'd keep it in the most basic match that we had because we had to work with them. So
Yeah.
and some of them turned out to be pretty good. But there were some of them that was god awful. Because they didn't have the passion for it. They didn't. They were just there to get the payoff, and they really other things was their life. So. But like I said, that'd be in the opener, or if there was something that was like real easy, simple that they didn't have, something that they couldn't really screw up, and that's where they'd be put.
All right. What states? How many states had the athletic commission that y'all
Oh
had to do
man,
with?
back in the day, there was so many of them. There was, I mean,
Almost all of them.
no, not all. No,
But a lot.
Yeah, but less than half. There was a bunch though. All the Northeast did, and California did. I think down in Georgia did not. Florida didn't. South Carolina did. Alabama didn't used to, but does now.
Yep.
Virginia all the way on up. Pretty much most of those had commission. And there was a few through the Midwest that did, places that were really known had boxing. Any places that was famous for boxing had a boxing wrestling committee. They had always looped the two together.
Yeah.
So that so there would be, Maryland and it just boom. There was a bunch of them. There was a lot of them.
Let's see. Eric Tate is in the chat. Thank you for joining us, Eric. Eric said, Nick, was WCW going to have a pay-per-view in 2001 called The Big Bang if WWF had not bought them? Do you remember any talk of that?
No, I wouldn't have been privy, to that. I was an agent. I helped come up with finishes, but I wasn't in the planning stages, part of the
Scheduling
deal.
shows.
Yeah. So no, that's not something that I heard.
Okay. Eric also said today's his mom's birthday. Shout out, Eric, to your
Happy
mom. Happy birthday,
birthday,
Eric Tate's mom.
Give her a big hug, man.
Ibsen Arroyo said, how was senior referee Randy Anderson towards you? Any reason why he reffed more main events than you?
He was one of my good friends.
Yeah.
And we just rotated him up. I wasn't one of those guys that had to be in the main event all the time, man. And if I was riding with somebody and I had a chance to get on down the road, and I knew that there wasn't something that required me being there, and the Randy could handle it. It was that sometimes we'd do that because we did so many miles that we didn't always stick around. If we had a chance to get on down the road, sometimes we did. And they don't recommend that now, and you wouldn't do that in WWE because they make everybody stay to the end because it's a learning process and a teaching process, and
right.
But they didn't drive as much either. Back I'm talking about back when we were driving a lot. When I was working with Randy, and there was a long time that Randy and I was like the only two refs at WCW, and they worked us to friggin' death, man. When they wouldn't give us a raise, and we tried to get more money, and then also, thank God, Vince started having like 6 or 7 matches or refs on every show, and they were desperately trying to do everything that Vince did. So finally, they said, "Well, let's hire more refs," and either that or somebody finally smartened them up, which I doubt that seriously. But honestly, I think it's because Vince was doing it, so they ended up making it easy. Actually, we ended up with 5 or 6 guys. We had a good crew. We ended up having a really good crew of referees there at one point in time.
When did you become senior ref? Who was in charge of assigning matches?
Oh gosh, I couldn't tell you the dates.
Was it early on? Like how early on was it?
Early in WCW, I was before I was ever an agent, I was a head ref. It's pretty much after Tommy Young was gone. After he got hurt and was gone, I slid into the head ref role right there. So that was he hurt his neck in center stage. I don't remember whatever time or day or year that was, but after that, I kind of stepped up into that role.
Yeah, so you would have been ever since whenever that was. You would have been the one putting Randy in the main event, right?
Yeah, I rotated. Yeah. And he liked. There were certain guys that liked working with Randy, and him working with him. A lot of times they traveled together. So I didn't. I was a convenience guy because Randy and I felt was equal, in talent wise, and then we could either one of us could handle anything thrown at us. So we just rotated it up. I never wanted to be that guy that had to put himself in that main event all the time. I wouldn't. I didn't want to be that guy, man.
Sure.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I do like getting the hell out early once in a while, man, and getting a good 30-minute jump, getting beating the crowd, boom, man, zap.
You get that shower before everybody's back there. You can get
man. Power shower out the door, man. That's it. Cooler packed, out the door we go, man.
Well, speaking of, Matthew Rodriguez said, "Hey, Nick and Cassio, I'm live from the bathroom after taking a shower. I'm in my bathrobe. Nick, did you and the Revs shower in WCW WWE? And what equipment did you use in the shower, like shampoo?"
Actually, I was on. I decided when I was in WWE that I didn't want to shower anymore, so I quit showering because I wanted to travel alone, and that was the best way to make it certain that I was able to travel alone. I just quit showering altogether.
Boy, that's a heel move.
Yes, I'm going to beat the system. They're not going to beat me down. Take that.
You're going to smell the Nick Patrick brand if you're going to ride with you, huh?
Oh, mercy.
Well, Matthew.
That's horrifying.
Who had the worst showers? What venue?
Oh, man.
And there had to be some bad ones.
It would have to be some of the old school places that we run. Most of the big arenas are pretty cool. But some of them old spot shows back in the day, I've stood on pallets with cold water coming out of the deal and showered off because I didn't want to go 200 miles. You know what I mean? I'm honest to God.
Yeah.
And for like Georgia Championship Wrestling, certain different, we were big and it started going, they had it on tour, but we still, some of the house shows that we run back in the day when we was getting back, getting out in there, man.
Yeah.
And there were some places that we run that it was.
How's the Madison Square Garden showers? Do you remember?
Old, but yeah, this is a shower. It's not. It's not like it wasn't like the Georgia Dome, but it was. It was okay.
Let's see.
They didn't have any detachable heads or nothing. It was all all old school stuff.
You're not getting the shower massage attachment.
No, they didn't get any of that. That kind of pissed me off. I was expecting a little bit more, If I'm going to shower, if I'm going to break my code and shower, I want the real deal, man.
Break my code. Well, Matthew, maybe we'll be in a bathrobe next episode. You don't know. If you're going to,
you never know. We said we talk about anything. You never know.
I'll bust out the bathrobe. I ain't scared. I'll be comfy while we do the show here. Well, Matthew, rinse off, man. We appreciate you joining us. Don't drop your phone in the shower. Eric Tate said, Nick, have you ever been to Branson, Missouri?
I've been through it, I'm sure. I've been through all of South Missouri because I'm from St. Joe. And at some time or another, but I grew up elsewhere. I was born there, and I went like from the first through the third grade there. And then all the rest of the time, I pretty much was all over the country until my sister and I was started in school, and we pretty much settled in Atlanta at that point in time because it was a good central point for Pop. The airport he could get because he was traveling, doing Japan and Australia. And, it was the airport could get him anywhere. And he worked when he wasn't going to overseas. He was working one of the southeastern territories. And Georgia, Atlanta was a good central location. And so that's ended up being where I pretty much grew up. You
never had a chance to go to Branson, go to any of the shows or anything like that?
No, I never did. I've been through there, but I never had. Yeah. I heard it was really a good time. But
yeah, me too.
And I've got relatives that's been there, but I've never had a chance to do that. No.
Me either. I've always heard of the great shows too.
I've been down to the Merrimack Caverns, and that's fairly close.
The Merrimack Caverns.
Yeah, have you ever heard of that?
No. What are those like?
It was an old Jesse James hideout. And,
really?
Oh yeah, it's really cool. You can go all through it. And the story goes that when they first found it, back in the old days, before they even knew that all the caves went back through there. It was where Jesse James and the gang, they'd keep horses and stuff there, and they would hide out there and they'd swap up. And there was a big cave that had a big pool of water in it. And if people didn't know, they'd go down in the water and go up under the wall, come up on the other side. They'd be inside the mountain. And they'd cut through the mountain, the catacombs, and it had a little side cave that went out the other side of the mountain where they'd keep their horses. And they'd shoot it out with them for a while, make them get all hunkered down. And then they'd zip right through up under the water and through the caves and out the side and away.
Whoa.
You know. And they didn't know how they didn't know how they did it for the longest time. And it became a state park, and there was this old timer that claimed that he was Jesse James. And they've got all this whole story. Is if you ever go check out the Merrimack Caverns, and it's got the newspaper and a picture of the guy. And if you look at the pictures, like, you know, he's so old, but it's like, damn, you know, it kind of looked like him. But he told him the secret of how it happened, and he went and he showed him, and he showed him how the cave, when there was a cave entrance from under the water. And they took him back there, and there was still some old like Pinkerton boxes and some stuff that was still in there, and it's really cool. It's a really historical deal, and it's really and going through the caverns itself, it's like multi-level and all different kind of rock formations, and a river runs through it. So, and they got it lit up to where it's really cool. But Jesse James' hideout was the main story behind it.
Look at all that water. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a river. It runs through there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Merrimack Caverns. Yeah, I'd love to check that out.
Yeah, if you ever get down that way, and it's not too far from Branson. But as far as Branson itself, I have not been there, or I've been through there, but not stayed there.
All right. Your boy C-Dub.
So hey, what's up, kid?
C-Dub is one of the talent with Deep South Wrestling. You can check him out there. WeAreDeepSouth.com. They got a whole, did you even know, Nick, that apparently C-Dub is important enough to have his own bio at We Are Deep South? Did you know that?
Oh, yes. He's a Deep South, man. Yeah. C-Dub's the man.
It says,
yeah.
Says 40-ounce C-Dub, one voice is able to pierce through all the crowd noise at a raucous DSW event, and that voice is attached to the man with colorful shades and the dreaded chicken stick.
Yep.
40-ounce C-Dub can either be supporting his best buddy, Professor Payne, pounding his famous energy drinks, or pathetically attempting to charm the blonde bombshell, Gemma Jules. How about that? 40 ounce with a little bio action.
40-ounce C-Dub. We used to practice down at the gym, and we'd have, we'd go through the rolls and the stuff and the moves and blah, blah, blah. And at the end, we would do promos and let people just freestyle sometimes. And 40-ounce C-Dub, with his freestyle promos, there was several of them that just, and I'm hard to break, man. I'm old.
You seen it all.
He'd make me openly belly laugh a couple of times and just have to turn and walk away going, holy shit. He's got a tremendous sense of humor and a quick wit. And I saw before he even started, he was still trying to get ring stuff down. I said, man, there's things we can do with this guy without even worrying about the ring, And but he still is. He still can. He does the wrestling and he works his ass off. And he has become one of the characters, man. When he comes out, people know who C-Dub. Him and Professor Payne. They've got a good little thing going, man.
Thanks for joining us, C-Dub. And he said, has the PC ever reached out to you to swing by?
PC,
a performance center for WWE.
No,
that's where they train now. He also says, Nick, did you or your dad ever run into Ginger the Bear? That was back wrestling dudes back then.
I never did. I don't think. I know Pop never wrestled the Bear. I never did either. I never reffed one either. I've seen him before and I heard it. I know a couple of old timers. I think it was Tim Woods got a damn finger bit off by one of those bears.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Tracy Smothers said he used to do it like all the time.
Yeah, well, Tracy was wild. Tracy could probably whoop that bear's ass if he got out of line.
Yeah, he said, I didn't know we weren't supposed to win. We just got in.
Damn it, you're getting stiff with me there, boy.
Yeah, that was before he was wrestling. I forgot what he was working, some kind of factory or a plant or a shipyard or something, some kind of big place where a lot of dudes worked, and said they would all go to this bar right across the street, and this dude started bringing a bear there, and you could sign up to wrestle the bear, and if you survived for 3 minutes or whatever, you got $50 or whatever it was. And he's like, yeah, I'd go do it all the time just to get some beer money. That sounds like a Tracy Smothers.
Yeah, that's Tracy, man. He was wild. He was funny as hell too.
Bit a finger off. Woo. That's crazy.
Yeah, Tim Woods, Mr. Wrestling #1. One of his fingers got bit out doing it with a bear.
Well, let's see. Res LOLing says, you got any classic Sid stories for me, a Sidophile?
The only funny thing I could ever say really about Sid is that he was scared to death of cockroaches. It was the funniest damn thing to see that great big giant monster that could stomp on a damn cockroach and squash it, bap, and be over with. But he freaked out over cockroaches. And if you ever found one of those big ass water bugs, that we get down here in the Southeast, I'm sure you got them over there in Alabama. They're like those big flying.
Yeah.
You ever seen one of them? That really freaked him out. And if you come at him with it, he'd run from you. He would run from you. Yes. That great big giant monster would run like hell if you had one of the water bugs, man. He wasn't having no part of that.
He hated them that much?
Oh, yes. Yes, he did, man. It was funny.
That is wow. That big guy.
Yeah. See, I mean, you step on it and it's done. I guess he thought it was going to catch his foot and take him down or something. I ain't sure what he thought was going to happen. He didn't want to have no part of those damn water bugs, man.
Look, there's Sid. When somebody said see a roach, that's him looking up.
Him when somebody, he's like, that better not be a water bug.
I'll take any wrestler in the back, but it better not be a
somebody comes out dressed as a water bug, they're going to get the 10 count on me because my ass is out the door.
Yeah, he's DQ. He's out. Wow, scared of cockroaches. That's awesome, dude. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Ibsen said, how was referee Billy Silverman in WCW? He jumped from the WWF to WCW. He was on Raw one week and then WCW the following week in '99. Do you remember Billy Silverman, Nick?
Yeah, Billy's one of my friends too. Billy's a really good ref. And he's one of the guys that started off as a commission ref that we was talking talking about earlier. Yeah, he started off as a commission ref, but he got it. And they started using him more. And they would actually start he started off like all the other commission guys doing the easy ones, but that's how every young ref starts, is doing the easy ones, that's not, but he caught on and become really good at it and ended up the WWF hiring him. And but he started off as a commission referee.
Well, that's good guy. Cool.
Good guy. I've always got along real well with Billy.
That's pretty cool that he worked his way up. I mean,
yeah.
Let's see. Do you have any good Missy Hyatt stories? AK wants to know.
Nah, I didn't really hang around Missy a whole lot. She did her own thing, and no, I don't really have any good Missy Hyatt. No, I'm sorry, I really don't. And I know nothing against Missy. God bless her. Do your own thing, girl. But I don't really have a good Missy Hyatt story. I actually do have one. It was really kind of funny, and I couldn't tell you where it was, but we did a pay-per-view somewhere where they dunked her in a big ass barrel of water, and man, they put the coldest water. Oh my God, they threw her ass in it. And it was part of the storyline. I guess, but she went in that barrel of cold water. Man, she was She was super pissed. I don't think that she thought they was going to completely dump her in. I don't think, but she got put in the barrel
You got dumped.
of ice. I mean, oh, it was brutal. Yeah. And I'm sorry that I'm laughing.
Let's see. This guy's name is Talk About Anything You Want to Talk About, which we will do here. It said, how can I meet John Cena in person?
That's a dang good question, man. I know going to the
like
matches is hard, but I got one of my good buddies that lives in Fayetteville, and they film so many movies and stuff around Georgia now that they had his neighborhood blocked off, and John Cena's trailer was right at the edge of his property.
Really?
Yeah. And he waited outside because he's got a special needs son, and he's a super nice guy too, and the kid is super, and but he's a huge Cena fan, and he's got all kind of Cena stuff up in his room. And sure enough, Cena come over and talked to my buddy, and he's a guy I went to high school with. He was like a year or so ahead of me, but I knew him really well because we all played football together.
Yeah.
And John come to his house, met the boy, signed all kind of stuff, man.
Really?
Yes, and it just made that kid's just made his whole life, man. He got to meet his Cena's his biggest hero in wrestling, and he used to like Chris Jericho too. So when I come over to his house to visit him, we pulled up the match I had with Chris Jericho. And I was Nick heel ref. I'd say, now watch this. I'm going to whoop Chris Jericho's ass. And that's when he bounced me around like a rubber ball for a while, But I was talking that shit, man. And he was laughing every time I'd start bumping. He would laugh. Yeah, it was cool, man. But Cena actually come in and he's a really, really super nice guy in person. He's not one of those stars that's not approachable. He's not one of those people that's so full of themselves that they can't see other people's thing. They can't see that other people have needs. That he's a down to earth person that made his way, man, and he didn't let it change him. So I got a lot of time for that guy.
Did you? How many matches did you get to work? Did you ever get to work a match?
I did a bunch of his matches when he first started because they married him to JBL, and I did a bunch of him and JBL matches. So I worked a lot with when he first started when they were getting him ready. But, I did a lot of the JBL run. I did a lot of those matches.
I think one of the things that people that watch have seen him a lot and seen a lot of his matches is he's notorious for calling out stuff real loud in the ring. Did that jar you the first time you picked up on it?
But he didn't really do that with John because he was still in the listening stage still.
Okay, yeah. So he was following John's lead.
Yeah, he was more. Yeah, he was still in the listening stage. He was being brought along, and I mean he was still talking, but he wasn't yelling nothing across the ring, I heard Kurt Angle do that. I worked with him, and oh, dear God! Did y'all hear that?
He didn't do it louder. They didn't hear you back there.
That guy up on the 8th row. He says he said to get a headlock.
Was Kurt the loudest?
Kurt, I think Kurt talked the loudest to me in the ring, and it drove me crazy because to me, watching Kurt Angle wrestle, he had the best just instincts. Just to go out and do stuff with things. If he just wouldn't overthink, I know that you have a mapped out what you want to do in your match, but as far as just when things happen, just boom, just instinct, reactionary stuff. He was one of the best that I ever worked with. And awesome. And I would like to have seen him in the day where they just did an outline and then called everything, because he could have done that real easy and been really, really good at it.
Good. He's good at reacting how you should react to certain things.
Yes.
How you would really counter a move and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Pyrus Wrestling said, Nick, during the WWE Europe tours, Did you went to Spain? And if you
Mhm.
did, what was your favorite food there? Like paella, pinzos, tortilla, favorite things to see, like Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, anything like that? What do you remember about Spain on your tours?
We just passed through. It was so quick. We was hop, bap, bap. We landed, went to the hotel, worked the show, was out the very next morning going somewhere we didn't really get to go and see anything. But on that list of food, paella would be my number one.
Man, I
I
love a
didn't
good
I didn't
paella.
have it in Spain. I've had it in different places in the States. And I found a place in London, man, that was off the hook. It had it had paella that was really, really good. But my mom make about the best paella that I ever.
Really?
Yeah, well, she can't anymore because but the recipe we
Is
got.
she making the big pot?
Uh-huh. And it's one of those
Yeah,
things that you cook in segments. It's not just something that you put on and let it simmer.
right.
There's a lot of steps to it. But man, oh my God, yeah, that's one of my favorites. Paella, I love it. Somebody makes a good paella, you got to try that.
Somebody hit us in the chat. Did you ever drive over in the UK and have to drive on the wrong side of the road?
No, I was not about to even attempt that. Hell no.
I was about to say, how was it if you got to do it? That's fascinating.
No, I did not. I did not.
I consider myself a good driver. I feel like I would not do good there.
Yeah, hell, I go up the wrong way sometimes here in the States accidentally. Damn, I ain't gonna do it over there. I just yesterday went to go record some stuff downtown, and I was following this car. I didn't know where I was going. My GPS went out on me, and I had to call them. They're trying to talk me through it, and I'm following this other car because I knew I had to turn around, and we made a left turn, and all of a sudden I realized, oh shit, we're supposed to go on the other side of those cones. We're both of us going up the wrong side of the freaking road, and we zipped over, and here comes other cars. I'm like, no, I will not do that in England.
You just thought you were in the UK for a
Yeah,
second. You just thought.
yeah, man. I just had a UK flashback there for about 30 seconds. Had to come back to reality quick.
Hit us up in the chat. We'll get to as many of those as we can get to before we get out of here. If you'd like to support the show even more, make sure you hit us in the super chat. Your chat will jump to the front of the line. We'll make sure we get to those before we get out of here. We won't miss you. They are rolling in as we're having a killer record day, I believe, for live viewers. So appreciate y'all joining us today. Let's see what we got next. Nick. Dixon Cider is that great name. Said, who are your favorite guys to referee for in WCW and in WWE?
I love doing tag matches, and so in WCW, it was I liked working with Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express in the early WCW. That was a lot of fun, and as far as I liked working with the Dudleys up in WWE because it was different. It was more new school, but still they told a story. Which that's the whole formula. You got to blend old school and new school. You can't be just all of one or all of the other. Old school tells a story, but you got to soup that story up a little bit with some new school stuff. But you can't just go bap, 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 bap. You got to tell a story, and they were very, very good at doing that, and a lot of fun to work with. Good guys.
So Dudley's, and then Midnight Express and Rock and Roll.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, those three good tag teams right there.
Yeah.
Ibsen said, Nick, did you prefer to not ref lucha matches in WCW because of the language barrier? Was that ever an issue for you, Nick?
No, I couldn't speak. But they had most of them could speak enough English that they could communicate with any of us. But and I didn't have a problem with it at all. I was usually if it came into the rotation, then I had no problem going and doing a lucha match. It was fine with me. But old original lucha that's WCW lucha was different than lucha.
Yeah.
Lucha is kind of hard for me to follow because I don't see the story. You guys are in and out, and it's just really different. But we took a lot of their stars, and they had to adapt to American style storytelling too. So it was a big step, but a lot of them had done that because a lot of them were stars in Japan and other places as well. And, in Japan, you're telling stories over there too. A lot stiffer stories, but still telling stories.
Podcast Wrestling Archives said, Nick, do you remember the date, July 7th, 2005, an infamous controversial Undertaker versus Daivari match, and the Hassan and the 5 masked men attacking Taker and choking him? You remember what your reaction was, and if you remember Vince's or anybody else's?
I kind of remember that happening, but I don't really remember my reaction because a lot of times when stuff like that's happening, if you've got the next match, you're getting people on deck, and so the refs are a lot of times running. You're not always getting to stand there and watch the monitor. Very seldom are you able to get there and stand there and watch the monitor until you are on deck and going there next, and you have to be there. Then you can watch the monitor all you want, but otherwise you're very much running. And I remember that happening, but I did not see Vince's reaction to it. I don't know. I don't know what those guys got when they walked back through the curtain, because you'll know Vince's reaction as soon as you clear the curtain, up there back then, he was there. But I liked that. I liked that, man. I want to know straight from the horse's mouth, man. I don't want to go to the other end to get my information.
And you don't want it to linger. You want instant reaction, and
yes,
let's get it over with, and then figure out how to be better the next time.
The true, brutal, raw reaction right there. What you just saw is what you get.
You ever remember a moment like that when you were back there that sticks out to you, when you were maybe waiting on, your match to be coming up and saw somebody get chewed?
No, hell, I've been one that got chewed before, especially when we first got there. I come back one time and I was doing a thing. I think they were setting up the match they were setting up that 6-man tag match with me and the Dudleys against The Rock and Jericho and Mike Chioda. And during the process of setting it up, they had me do something with Jericho like the week before. I don't remember what it was. And Jericho came to me and says, "Hey, look, do the old thing where you drop to your knees and be like, no, he'll move, and
right.
I think nothing about it, we lined it up and I did that. And man, when I got back to the curtain, Vince was pissed that I did that, and he got on my ass. In the process of him getting on my ass, to Jericho's credit, he stepped in and says, no, Vince, I told him to do that. I asked him to do that. And Vince says, well, don't do that again. Yes, sir. And I went on about my business,
That was it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see who we got next. At any time did any WCW star recommend you to be strictly just their ref?
Not that I know of, but I did a lot of Booker T matches, but Booker, he liked working with different people, and he didn't really request. Very few guys only requested. I know Flair liked working with Pee Wee, at the time or Tommy Young, because they traveled a lot, and they were friends and stuff, and I still did a lot of Flair stuff, because just the head count of how many refs we had, because I refed a ton of Flair matches, but. I'm sorry. Get from the question back by me.
We're talking about if anybody ever specifically said you do all their matches.
No,
no.
I remember Goldberg liked having Mickey J. So I always would make sure that as much as I possibly could, I'd make sure Mickey J was in there with Goldberg, and there were certain matches that Booker liked me to have, and I'd put myself in a lot of different Booker matches, but. Other than that, really, no. And Booker didn't really request,
It just turned out that way.
Yeah. But there was a couple times he said how they asked for me. Benoit asked for me a couple times back in the day, and
that's just trust. That just builds up with they know.
Because I used to, because I had worked with them on the road, and I had the timing down, knew what they were going to do. It just flowed. But. Other than somebody saying, I want Nick to do my matches everywhere I go, that never happened.
WWE Vault just had yesterday the match that you refed between Haku and Barbarian in 1998.
Wow.
How was it to see that match up close and personal?
To be honest with you, I'm glad you reminded me of that. I want to look it up and rewatch it to jar my memory, because I didn't realize that those two had faced each other. But back in '98, that would have been cool. I'm sure it was stiff, because they stiff but not dangerous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd say it's snug would be the word that we actually use. If we're going to throw out wrestling lingo.
They weren't doing it to
snug is okay. Snug
yeah.
is some big guys don't even like snug, but snug is okay. You can't see through snug. Stiff sucks. Stiff means you need to still learn what you're doing.
Well, both of those dudes, scary looking dudes.
Yeah, and both of them legitimate badasses too, man. Both of them, man. If you had one of them on each side of you, you're safe. If you're walking in between those two guys, you're in good shape, man. You can make all the faces at people you want.
You walk in with those two dudes, you're probably gonna walk out.
Yeah, you're gonna walk out safe.
I was trying to find a.
I saw a Haku on Facebook, and he was doing that movie about aliens, and the wrestler guys fight, and people fighting aliens. And I sent him a message that said, "As long as you are fighting aliens, the Earth will be safe."
The Earth will be safe.
Yeah, there'll be spaceships pass by. I go, no, Haku's down there, man. Let's leave him alone.
We don't want no part of that.
Yeah, no, he'll goozle our ass, put us up against the wall by our throats.
Nick, today, September 10th, would have been the birthday of the one and only Mr. Don Morocco.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever have, what's your interactions with Don throughout the year?
I met Don when he came to work for Georgia Championship Wrestling back in the early 80s. He passed through at about the time that Tommy and Buzz was having their big feud. And in fact, I was talking to you earlier, Don and Buzz traveled together for a couple of weeks. It only lasted a couple of weeks, man, because it was like they would try to outdrink each other. And it was like, man, if these two don't get separated, it's going to be bad. And I think Don was smart enough to realize that. So he went on, traveling with somebody else. But man, there was about a 2-week thing with him and Buzz. Like, man, if these guys travel together very much, they might end up in jail.
Not a good team up.
No, this is y'all might need to travel different paths.
Don Morocco, of course.
Great guy. Super nice guy.
Yeah. Big dude.
Yeah. One of the big power lifter guys from back in the day. Big muscled up guys from back in the day. Huge chest and big triceps and arms. And yeah, he's a big guy, man. And a good worker too.
I wonder, is he just enjoying his retirement life? He resides in Hawaii with his wife.
I think he does a little podcast somewhere too. I'm not sure.
Oh, nice.
I'm not sure, but I think.
Of course, in 2007, he inducted his former manager, Mr. Fuji, in the Hall of Fame. He did his induction speech. So yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Just a great career, great guy. Now, I've of course never met him, but glad to hear you say he was a great dude to work with.
Yeah, super guy. Still doing well too. You can see he does stuff. You can see him on Facebook.
Nice. All right, Nick, you've got before we get out of here, big shows coming up. You've got some Deep South shows in the Atlanta area. I believe you're going back to the Dairy soon, right?
Yeah, that's this weekend coming up. We're going to be back at the Atlanta Dairy, and the only match info I have will be the main event, and it's going to be a good one, man. And we're going to have Luka Daniels. That's New Realm. That's a whole different spot right there. Yeah, we're going to Atlanta Dairies this weekend. So, and the main event will be Luka Daniels against Mims.
Luka Daniels versus Mims.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, man, because Luka's moving on up, man. But Mims Man, since he come in, and I'd heard of the young man, but I don't watch a lot, and since he come in and showed us what he's got here at Deep South, and he is making an impact here. He's super, super nice guy, and a really good next level talent, man. It's when you have people that are next level talent and you use them, they rise the people around them up. It brings up everybody else's level too. So he's one of the guys that I like using, man. He's bringing it, and that's going to be one hell of a main event down at the Atlanta Dairies.
Well, let me tell you, anytime I see him, Luca, he's got a scowl on his face. He looks mean and mad every time I've ever seen him. So
Luca's the one that had all those kids that we watched the video a couple weeks back. Yeah, he has a thing though, man. He will get on those kids' butt, and those kids will give it right back to him, man. It's fun to watch.
Of course, Mims, like you said, just new to Deep South.
Yeah, but he's kicking it.
Yeah, he held the belt, I believe, NWA belt for a while.
Yes,
right?
he did. I thought he still did, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, he might. Yeah, he might do. He's what a great look. He's just a huge dude.
big strong kid, man. Super great attitude too, man. He's gonna go far. Come down and see him. That way you can say, hey, I saw him at Deep South. And then you'll be watching him when you'll be watching him on pay-per-views. Yeah, he's going to be in the main event. Him and Luca.
Right. If you want to check that out and more, go to wearedeepsouth.com. While you're there, you can get the merch. You can follow them on Instagram. That's at Deep South Wrestling. They're on Facebook. You can also, since you're here on YouTube, you're familiar with YouTube. Deep South has their YouTube channel up, and you can see clips from past shows and interviews, and get to know the storylines that are going on in Deep South. That's all there. Just search Deep South Wrestling in your YouTube. Real quick, C Fluid got in here. Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon.
Hey, man.
Sean Flynn, we'll do this and wrap up, said, any Toronto stories?
Not really. That was my first WrestleMania ever, though. Was in Toronto.
Really?
Yeah, the big dome that they had there. That was my very first WrestleMania. So it was, and I got to really like downtown Toronto, because back when I first started doing WrestleManias, they'd make us go there and be there like 8 or 10 days before. Been doing all kind of promotional stuff. They cut that down and eventually cut it out. I don't know how they do it now, but they was really cutting down on that, I guess, because they wanted to. To save on hotel. I told John Laurinaitis, I said, hey, man, you can send me out there like the day before the show if you want. I don't, if you're not going to have me doing anything, you save the hotel.
I'm sure he obliged.
Be happy to stay home. But, actually they let me stay for 2 days before.
All right.
So I didn't have to go, because, but that was only later on when they were starting to cut back. At first they needed us there because they had different events, and they'd have a match here in different places sometimes, when the ring set up, and, for different, side gimmicks, there was always something going on promotional wise back then. But Toronto was, that was like my first WrestleMania. I like Toronto. Downtown is very nice.
Nice. All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. The hour has absolutely flown by once again. Always having fun with y'all, bringing up stories that Nick's done forgot about and remembered. And, you're going to have to go find that one in the vault and check out.
Haku and Barbarian.
Haku and Barbarian.
That's got to be a chop fest, man.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out and see if we can find at least some pictures of that if we don't get a chance to watch it. Thanks, everybody, for hitting us up. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for all those who watched. Did not get your questions in. We appreciate that. If you did not get your question in, we encourage you to join us next week. We'll get to as many of those as we can as well. Or you can go ahead and leave it in the comments section here whenever you are checking this out, and we will go back and try to get those from last week's show, the previous episode. And if you're new to the show, welcome. Go back and check those out, or just hang out with us and ask your questions next week and catch up with us. We greatly appreciate it. Nick, appreciate it. I know you're busy, man. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. It's always fun to sit down with you here on a Wednesday afternoon, brother.
Nah, thank you, man. And thank you, everybody that watches, man. This is the most fun wrestling gig I've had, just being able to sit and talk to people and tell old stories. And y'all jar my memory about different things, too, man. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but, man, I did a pay-per-view every month for a couple of decades, man. And there's a lot of stuff that just, it's, did I do that? Oh shit, I did do that, and then you watch it back and then you start, things will start coming back. You'll remember something goofy that happened in the locker room or something goofy that happened so it's a lot of fun, man. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank y'all. We appreciate it. Whatever y'all want to talk about every single week, wrestling, sports, music, food, does not matter. You bring it up, we will try to talk about it. As the guy says, talk about anything you want to talk about. That's what we will do right here on the Nick Patrick Mailbag. For Nick, the man of the hour, I'm Cassio. Thanks for joining us here at Podcast Heat Wrestling YouTube channel. We always greatly appreciate it. We'll see you back here again next week on Nick Patrick's Mailbag.